Hello, Simon. Welcome to the New World.
Oh, my head. Wait, what do you mean, the world?
Oh, this is the New World, Simon, where everything is bigger and better.
Okay, hey, what's with the crappy background music? It sounds like something I farted out of my sleep.
I'm so glad you asked, Simon. You see, here in the New World, we...
Think maybe you could turn it off?
Please allow me to finish.
Okay.
You see, here in the New World, we merely take crappy music samples and loop them over and over again in a line cliche fashion to build more emotion. It's more cost-effective that way.
You think maybe you could just, turn it off? Is there an off button anywhere?
No. You see, here in the New World, we have to just wait till the loop finishes. It should only go...
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there it goes. Okay, welcome to the New World, Simon. Are you ready to begin your journey?
Journey? I kind of feel like I'm on a trip already, if you know what I'm saying. Nothing, okay. Did I hit my head or something? Maybe take a left turn in Albuquerque?
No, Simon, you are here to take a journey back to the early 2000s.
Wait a minute, you could do numbers? When did the math start mathing?
Oh, yeah, Simon, I can do all the maths. You see, in the New World, I'm a super genius. For example, 2 cubed equals 6. Le Chatelier's principle tells us that when two limits approach infinity, you multiply them together to get there faster. E pluribus unum, so on and so forth.
Something's not adding up here.
You need not worry yourself with such trivial matters, Simon. Now are you ready to take your trip to the early 2000s?
Why the crap would I want to go there?
Because it's what your subconscious desires, Simon.
What? That doesn't make any sense. Hey, how'd this bass get in my hands? What? Benny D, why is he over there on the drums?
He's here to play the drums.
Schlops? You're here too?
He's here for the guitar.
What's going on here? Something's not right.
Do not worry yourself, Simon. I must leave now.
What do you mean?
I gotta go to the staircase.
What staircase?
That one over there.
What's going on here?
You'll see in due time.
Hey, what's going on here? Hey, stop. Why are my hands moving with this? I can't play the bass like this. What is happening here? Is that Ben Traber on the synthesizer? Where did he come from? Who got the money for a fog machine? For the old days, since the old days have been gone, and it sticks in my mind. But every time it is, I die a little more inside. I love to relive all those days before I stand cast to get lost. I cry for that replay in my mind. Oh, good sir, indeed. Please take me back to the '80s, back to the day before time ran away. Please take me back to the '80s. Watching Aqua Tina, Captain Crunch was Ocarina. Take me back. I don't blink or look away, 'cause soon it all will be gone, are those days. But you know, sometimes I still look back to a long-forgotten better place than left back to the oddies. G-Force golden era with capital error. Take me back to the oddies. I can't get past that attack didn't last. I don't turn the birds in my mind. I wanna look down. Look back at that time machine. Get it off my mind again. You know the first place to go. Everything was still okay. Sister hadn't moved away and love was just a drive away. Dial up internet, all the photos, friends of all took the crap and moved on. Land parties on the weekend, girlfriend drove me off the deep end. I got soda breast, all I wanna do is sleep in. To live it that we live through the things that I know what I wouldn't have given to been part of those shows. Making people laugh and the memories made, but maybe should have tried a little harder on my day. I took all the time and I put it to waste. Now I'm yearning for the old things like Severus Snape. Take me back. Take me back. Boy, you'd think for a musical number like that, there'd be a whole lot more visual cues.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Simon. I think you must be mistaken. For you see, there were many visual cues in that last segment. For example, the staircase. Yeah, that one. I was standing on top of it while I was singing that "Time is" part. You know that one? Remember that one? Yeah. See, I was standing on top of the staircase, shrouded in fog, enveloped in a white tunic, flooded by a spotlight, holding an hourglass to the sky, as if you must make a life-altering choice. In fact, Simon, time is an unyielding force. You must make a choice. You, in fact, have arrived at a fork in the road.
What?
See it right there, that fork in the road?
Oh,
you must
yeah,
choose
that pathway, yeah.
left or right. Do you want to go see the wizard, or do you wish to go see the wizard?
Oh, jeez, what a choice to make. I don't know. It's such a... Hang on, wait. You put me on the spot here. Before we go any further, that pathway kind of curves. It looks a little bit more like a spoon.
I mean...
Maybe a spork from Taco Bell.
Well,
the spork, we call it a spork.
Sure, we can make that compromise. Now you must choose. Left spork or right spork. Do you want to see the wizard, or do you wish to see the wizard?
Hang on, slow down, you Scooby-Doo toilet.
Oh, yes, Gen Alpha language. Such a primitive form of communication. You see, in the new world, we don't use that trash.
Well, then I guess chalk one up for this world, am I right? Yeah. Wait a second, one.
That's right, one.
How do I know numbers? Something's not adding up here. Wait a second, Ad!
That's right, Ad.
Something's wrong. What's going on here? Who is this wizard?
Oh, the wizard rules over all in the new world. He wishes to harvest your brain.
Really? Me? Why?
That's simple, Simon. To make you a super genius like me. For instance, E2 Brute? To be or not to be? So on and so forth.
I mean, that's kind of impressive, but who is this wizard? Wait a second, is it Kmart?
Oh, yes, the one you refer to as Kmart. You mean this Kmart?
Hey, Simon.
Holy crap, how'd you get here?
That is not important, Simon. Tell him about yourself, new Kmart.
In this world, I'm not a loser. And my wife's still hot.
That's great, buddy. Okay, well, fine then. Is it schnapps?
In this world, I have a lower-pitched voice. I'm an educated Englishman, and I play the guitar and the keyboards.
Holy crap, where do you people come from? Could you teleport here?
Oh, simple, Simon. Yes, we can.
Well, crap. Don't tell me it's the drink cup.
In this world, I don't pee all over the floor of your bathroom establishment.
Wait a second, that was you doing that?
Yeah, every chance I get.
I thought I was sleepwalking.
And I smoke much less. This cigarette's purely coincidental. Something stressful happened the other day, okay?
Yes, in the new world, things that you would consider miracles are everyday occurrences for us.
But he said he's stressed out, not happy.
You need not worry yourself with such trivial thoughts, Simon. Wandering minds are not fit for super geniuses, in the words of the Gallagher brothers. We should never ponder the thoughts of today, for they may hold sway over time. It's an unyielding force. You must make a choice. You've come to a fork in the road. Now pick. Do you wish to see the wizard, or do you want to see the wizard?
I don't think they said that last part. I think you added that in. Sounds like some kind of Jedi mind trick or something. Wait a second. I got it. This is a test, isn't it?
Oh, simple, Simon. Tests are reserved for super geniuses, such as myself. For instance, PV equals nRT, whereas n is the number of moles and r is Rydberg's constant. A squared plus b squared equals a whole lot of letters, so on and so forth. Who would be testing you, Simon?
Armamoto. She's real in this world.
Yeah, she's real in this world, but she said she won't see you, so, you know.
She had to go off to college.
Shut your face. Well, if it ain't Armamoto, then...
Oh, I think you know,
Oh,
Simon.
don't tell me.
Oh, I will tell you.
Not him.
He's got a lot in common with you.
You wear a lot of the same hats.
Any would but him.
I think you know.
Maybe you could say you wear the same crown?
Not the other guy.
No, the other guy.
How did he get other guy from that?
No, boys.
Oh, you forget
Yes, the
it.
one you call the other guy. You see, in this world, he's just called the guy. He's the right-hand man of the wizard. His court jester, if you will. Speaking of which, here he comes. Attention, everyone. The other guy approacheth.
Oh, hey, everybody. How y'all doing? Oh, hey, Simon, man, I'm so glad to see you. I've been waiting so long to meet you. It is so great to finally meet you. I've heard so much about you. Come give me a hug, man.
Subject is in distress. Simon, what is the matter? The guy just wants to give you a hug.
Something's wrong here. He'd never be nice to me. Get him the frick away from me. You back up, too. I don't trust you. I want a one-way ticket out of here. And I don't want anybody following me.
Well, sure, Simon, but what's the hurry? I mean, I thought you were going to stay around and we were going to, have fun, do great things. Like we were going to, talk and...
What the crap is reading off a script?
Write fan fiction together.
Amateur hour! You are a joke, even in this world. Get out of here! Give me the drill. Simon, come here. I gotta harvest your brain.
What? No! What the crap are you doing?
I told you I was gonna harvest your brain.
I thought you meant you were gonna comb my hair or something.
Hey, the wizard needs his brain intact. This is a delicate procedure. Stop moving, Simon. Simon, don't move. Simon, don't move. Simon, don't move. Simon, move. Simon, move. Simon, move.
Oh, Kawasaki. What just happened?
You inconsiderate jerk, you are in my way. I want to get a fudgesicle out of the freezer. Don't be salty, bake cakes. Just because I got the physique to handle it and you don't. Out of the way, Puddin' Pop.
Boy, Simon, that game he was playing looked awful fun. Looked like he was doing karate or something.
I made a bass, maybe? Maybe played the bass?
Oh, bass, yeah.
Wait, what game?
Oh, that game over there. The placebo supplements alternate reality helmet.
Patent
You
pending.
put it on and then you started wigging out. Doing the karate bass.
Oh, something's off here. I don't feel so good. Hey, do you pee on the bathroom floor?
Okay, you caught me. Look, sometimes I sleepwalk.
What? You're a dang liar. I saw you. You just pee-peed on the floor because you got a bad aim. I was watching.
Well, this is awkward. Seems you've caught me with my pants down. In the past. Would you believe me if I told you that I couldn't hold it?
And we are live. At least as close to live as we could get. Ooh, spooky. You know, well, you don't know, but it's almost Halloween time here. I just put out the Halloween episode for the show, which was an ordeal in itself to get formatted for YouTube. But whatever. This is the show that keeps giving you the things that you don't want at times you don't want them, roughly every 2 weeks. I'm your host, that one guy whose name's hard to say, and it doesn't matter. I hope you're ready to have a regular time. Let's get into it. So first order of business, trick or freaking treat, Max. No, I don't mean Mighty Max. I mean HBO Max dropping regular show just out of nowhere. Where else am I going to stream it? I had to go to Hulu. You know how hard it was to log into Hulu? My gosh, it had me on my old account and I never switched it over on the laptop. I had to switch over to the other one. Shoo, it's just an ordeal and itself. Hulu is a mess on the laptop. I mean, it's pretty convenient on like your Roku, but I can't be doing no podcasting on no Roku. I ain't got the time for that. I'd have to go downstairs and come back up here and I'd be all out of breath from walking upstairs because I'm out of shape. You know what? Nobody cares about that. Yes, HBO Max dropped regular show. I'm not sure why. I'll still probably keep my Max subscription because, well, they got other stuff that I watch. Really, the only thing I watch Hulu for is King of the Hill and regular show at this point. But anyway, speaking of Max, well, no, let's talk about the other thing. The regular show, the spinoff series. Probably both of these regular show pieces are old news to you by now if you're listening to this. Either that or you're listening just because I'm affiliated with Turtles Forever. Maybe by the time this comes out, we'll put out another show. I don't know. That show's been on hiatus for a while. And let me tell you, there really isn't much to tell. So, anyway, this will be old news by the time you hear this, but regular show got dropped from Max, and the title of the new series is apparently going to be Regular Show The Lost Tapes, which suggests to me that it's going to take place before the end of regular show. I'm not sure about that. That's just what I infer from that title. I could be mistaken, but that probably, if I had to bet, I don't want to give away too much, but probably that at least leaves the door open for most, if not all characters to have a comeback, to be back in the show. And if you've seen the final episode of the regular show, you know that VHS tapes sort of play a role there at the main end. And I'm guessing, sorry, I popped my thumb there. Maybe I can edit that out. I'm guessing that one of the tapes that you see at the main end, that's just one of many. And, I guess kind of side story type thing. That seems kind of like the safe bet to me, which, probably a good thing. At the same time, I don't know. I love this series so much. I don't want to see him take too many risks, but I don't know. Maybe it would have been cool to see him come up with like a storyline for kind of like Final Fantasy VII did, going back, who really knows actually what they're doing with that at this point, but it's just so almost ambiguous. There's like a contour and a direction that the series follows, but you still don't really know where they're going. I mean, you got the vague points, but what the crap's going to happen? But maybe something like that with like an alternate timeline, alternate reality, time travel, something. But that's so easy to screw up. So, whatever will get the most longevity for the show, that's what I want. Even if it's just a complete reboot from the ground up and them, going back. And honestly, I want to see, I don't know where the funding would come from, but I would love to see a show as good as that, go back or even something like The Simpsons, go back from the main beginning or a good starting point, early seasons, and retell the story from there. But in sort of, just with subtle differences. I've seen some anime do that. oh gosh, I can't remember which ones they are, but there was one. This isn't exactly like that, but what is it? Hiragashi no Nuni Kori, something like that. It translates to When They Cry, and I think it's talking about cicadas. But it's like this time travel horror, like a Groundhog Day type thing. And it just keeps repeating the same time loop, but different things happen every time until the time loop gets fixed. It's pretty cool. You got to watch like 12 episodes before you realize what's going on. But once you do, you're kind of hooked. But I would love to see like a cartoon like this go back and do that and just retell the series again, but change it up to where different things happen. And it's like you've got an A timeline and a B timeline, and you know the episodes that are going to happen, but there's key differences. I don't know. Or maybe, I don't know, show the story from another character's point of view, like Skip's point of view, the same exact story from Skip's point of view, or from Benson's point of view, something. Or even a prequel series. I'm sure they could come up with something really kooky for that, showing where all the characters were, going more in depth to where all the characters were before the series started. But then you don't really have the whole group dynamic thing, which is the strongest point of regular show, in my opinion. So I don't know how I'd feel about that. I'd watch it for sure. Or even something to take place after the ending of regular show. I don't know exactly. That, like I said, that's the riskiest one, in my opinion. That's the riskiest path they could take. But yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for it. That's one thing that's keeping me going right now. But speaking of Max, it's almost Halloween time, and I have been going back and watching some old horror movies. I kind of skimmed through Freddy versus Jason. I skipped over quite a few scenes in that, but especially the beginning. I remember watching that as an eighth grader, or I think I was in eighth grade, and yeah, there's just some there's some Hank Hill troll doll action going on, if you know what I mean. If you're a fan of King of the Hill, what he tells Bobby when he picks up the troll doll. Probably, maybe one of you will get that. Rob, if you're listening, I know you're watching King of the Hill. Yeah, the episode with the mold damage and the parade of homes. Anyway, Hank builds his display cabinet for his troll action figures. Oh, I love Hank Hillisms. But yeah, I watched mainly for the end part, just the battle between Freddy versus Jason. I thought, I still think it's a pretty well executed one. But then I went back and I rewatched. I've watched all 6 Screams. I had to watch the last 2 on Paramount. And the last 3, I'm kind of split on them. I'm kind of glad they're keeping the series going. And especially the last 2, it seems like they're trying to pick up like maybe there might be another one for a trilogy where maybe they bring back Stu Macher. Well, if I'm giving this away, my gosh, it's like a 30-year-old movie. One of the original bad guys from the first movie, but surely you know something about Scream. There's in every movie but one, there's more than one killer. Yeah, but whatever. I guess it sprouted up because I was watching a YouTube video and my interest in they're talking about how you can figure out who the killer is before the end based on clues they drop in the movie, and that's just good storytelling. But I remember before this, I went back and rewatched them a few years back, and at the time when I watched them, I thought this is so obvious, especially the first one. Even the second one. I remember when I was a kid, I was probably in 4th or 5th grade. I took a trip up to Ohio with my grandparents, and while we were up there, and a couple of my cousins, while we were up there, one of my cousins, he was, he just entered the workforce and everything. He said, I've been wanting to watch Scream 3, so they rented it, and I walked up halfway through it. And literally, I mean, I came in on the scene where they're in this house, and the killer says he's going to kill one of them, and he's printing something off on the printer. Yeah, it was the like early 2000s, I think. But yeah, a printer. And he's waiting for it to print out. He's reading the script of this movie of Stab 3 that they're making. And he's like, what is this crap? And he lights a lighter and the house blows up. And so it's like halfway through the movie. And literally I walk in and within 15 minutes, I was like, that guy did it. And I don't know if I was joking or not. Knowing me, I probably was, but I was absolutely right. I said, that guy did it. And so it's like those movies are pretty obvious, but at the same time, there's like there's some cringiness to them too, but there's a certain aesthetic about them that's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool things there. The soundtracks that don't get played much until the end are pretty good on most all the movies. There's definitely that series, the first three especially the first one, completely changed the way that horror movies were made. Like I remember Halloween H2O when it came out after that, it was a completely different movie from Halloween 6, the Curse of Michael Myers, or any of the Halloween movies, but it was like, this is this is the Scream version, or the I Know What You Did Last Summer version of Halloween. But Scream basically set off this whole tirade of these slasher films or murder, mystery, thriller, hybrid type movies. That Wes Craven's responsible for all that. He changed horror there for like a whole decade and a half. Just because the original Scream was like a meta commentary on horror up to that point. But it's just really cool because I like going back and looking at all the films that came out. And a lot of them, Wes Craven, it seemed like he may have, maybe not Wes Craven, but somebody, maybe the producer or somebody had a hand in pretty much all these movies. Because you look, and Joshua Jackson's in Scream 2. He's also in Urban Legend. He's also in the movie Cursed, which is, I think Wes Craven has a role, or he played a role in making that. Maybe he was the director. But like these, and there's a girl there too. I believe she's in Scream 2. She's also in Urban Legend. And I think that she's in Cursed. I'm not 100% sure about that. But like, all these movies, these actors, they keep coming back like a troupe almost. And it's pretty cool. Yeah, I like going back and kind of analyzing that. But I also like how Joshua Jackson's here's this word again, meta. Ugh. At Scream 4, he's what? What? It's too meta. It's too what now? But anyway, but yes, like he goes back and because he was in Dawson's Creek, and they had a couple good theme songs, but they had that one popular song, I Don't Want to Wait, and in Urban Legends, his character gets in the car, and he's well, hang on, I got to back up. I'm sorry. When he was in Dawson's Creek, there's a scene where they're in the library, almost like the Breakfast Club type thing, and he's like talking about the Mighty Ducks, and she's like, what? He's like, the Mighty Ducks? You've never seen that? And he's in the movie. He's in all three Mighty Ducks. So it's like they're throwing in a reference. They're alluding to a work that he was in previously. Well, then when he's in Urban Legends, he gets in a car and the Dawson's Creek theme song comes on, and he's like, what is this crap? And he turns that off and he drives off. So it's like every work he's in, he keeps alluding to his previous work, which I think's it's cool. It's just like this buildup of illusions. So yeah, that whole era of horror, even up through Scream 3, I just kind of enjoyed how they were kind of creative with that. The last three Screams, especially the last two, they try to establish like a trilogy. I think I mentioned that a little bit already, but I'm really hoping, I don't know, like it seems like they're trying to be over the top graphic and edgy, and like they kind of were in the 90s, but it was a little bit more cartoonish in the 90s, and now it's just like, I don't know, it's just trying to be too, I can't say they're terrible movies at all, but I don't know. It's like, that's just not the Scream that I recognize. like it wants to be more graphic than it was in the 90s. Like somebody will just get stabbed like 15 times just for no reason, and it's like, and they'll still survive at the end somehow. And it's like, what? One stab wound took them down in the 90s. And now there's a guy that's just like, whop, whop, whop. He's like cutting them up like a hatchet, like Mel Gibson in The Patriot. And then by the end of the movie, they're walking around fine. They've been in the hospital 2 days and they're like, oh, that's the killer. I know who it was. And that's, and it's just like, they just want to make the death scene. So it's like they want to glorify. I don't know. I guess that's the effect that Saw had on horror movies. They want to glorify pain and agony and torture. And I'm not a big fan of that, but, I am hoping in the last one, or if they make another one, 8, I don't know if it'd be the last one, series, I don't want to say it's a cash cow, but it kind of seems like, sorry, my sound booth's falling apart. It kind of seems like, they keep running back to the well, bringing back like, some of the original characters or some of the characters from the previous movies in each one. And, and then they kind of comment on that, in the movie, some of the characters do. But in the next one, if they make no one, I hope they bring Stumacher back, which is Matthew Lillard. And he has some interactions with the ghost of Billy Loomis from Scream 1, because that dude's been, if you watch the last 2, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so after I watched them, I just started watching the original Scooby-Doo movie. Not the cartoon, but the live action with Matthew Lillard. I guess that's probably the reason why I did it. And I thought, I'm just going to watch it just for, I don't know, just to watch it. And when it first came out, I was too cool. I thought it was all right. I mean, it's too cool to really, honestly, when I was that age, I still didn't even, I was like, Scooby-Doo's okay, whatever. But going back and watching it, yeah, there's a lot of corniness to it, but at the same time, they did a pretty doggone good job at making that movie. I mean, especially at the main beginning with the cartoony effects where Shaggy's running in a barrel and Scooby's out the top of the barrel and it's just Shaggy's legs. And, I mean, for the technology they had at the time, they did, it seems like a pretty doggone good job. They used a little bit of CGI for the monsters and whatnot, but, it's a 2002 movie and the casting was pretty near perfect. I mean, fantastic acting as far as like capturing the personality of the characters that the fans had made them out to be. So, they give allusion to the reference of Shaggy, I guess, well, early on in the Mystery Machine, you see a bunch of smoke blowing out the top of it and you find out they're grilling hamburgers, which is really funny because when I look back, because it's like, they did a lot of stuff like that in that movie. I mean, there's, and what's her name? Lisa Cardellini is Velma. I think her name's Lisa Cardellini. I don't know. I can't imagine somebody better at playing Velma. Matthew Lillard, he was so good at it that he pretty much voices Shaggy and seemingly like most of the animated Scooby-Doo movies after that. So he'd pretty much become Shaggy. So Freddie Prinze Jr. is Freddie, who was also one of those, summer blockbuster horror movie. He was in I Know What You Did Last Summer, I think. If not part 1, part 2. I still Know What You Did Last Summer. Whatever. Sarah Michelle Gellar, was she Daphne? She was in Scream 2. So, I mean, it's just great casting all around. But, yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to as far as, all that stuff, all that jazz. So let's continue on. I got to stop saying that because it seems like every time I say all that insert brand of music, there's a particular intern that comes on and wants to do his own little all that precursor to bebop type of segment. And That is not me. Or is it? No, it's not me. Anyway, let's move on to the show at hand. So, these will be labeled a little bit weird on the channel feed or whatever. I think this one will be labeled as season 3, episode 4, but Terror Tales of the Park actually is labeled as episode 4 and 5 on Hulu. So this is actually season 3, episode 6, but it is Camping Can Be Cool. And it's sort of a horror-esque episode as well. So, happy October in July or whenever you're listening to this. We did Halloween in July. Maybe it'll be July when you actually listen to this. So it's like, those are the tritones of this show, the nodal points. But let's see, this episode aired on October 17th, 2011. The Adventure Time that aired alongside it was called The Creeps, which is one of those murder mystery type episodes. There's another one where they're on like a train for Finn's birthday. And I think this one's, it may not be a murder mystery, but there's like a dinner party they go to, and it's kind of like Clue from what I remember. And it's a fairly enjoyable episode. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I've seen it a few times. It's not the greatest Adventure Time episode, but it's all right. It's as are a lot of the Adventure Time episodes. I enjoyed it. It seemed like a decently creative episode. I can't remember anything specific about it other than their outfits. And I think there's like a ghost. I don't remember if the ghost is an imposter or not, but yeah. Everything always comes back to Scooby-Doo, right? Let me see if there's any Scooby-Doo going on this day. I'm not seeing any. Oh, well. That's okay. There is a very good Aqua Unit Patrol Squad 1, which is just Aqua Teen Hunger Force season like 11 or whatever. It's one of the later Aqua Teen episodes that came on 12:15 a.m. that morning. It's called Last Dance for Napkin Lad, and it's a pretty good episode. You find out that all the Aqua Teens, I mean, it's one of those one-off episodes that like doesn't really have any canon, but it's like this what if scenario where they were all military operatives in this, I don't know. They were all military operatives before, and it's really kind of confusing to watch, but they're like setting each other up and whatnot. And like, Master Shake's name is like Flint, I think. So I don't know. It's crazy, but there's some really funny jokes in there. It's one of them ones, you got 12 minutes. You kind of need to watch a lot of the other episodes, at least some of the other episodes, for it to have full impact, but there's still some pretty good humor in it if you're not a fan of the show. So, yeah. There's a little bit of language that they don't bleep out that I don't care for, but other than that, I mean, it's a pretty creative episode. Anyway, let's get on to the regular show here. Camping Can Be Fun. Pulling up the wiki here. It's production code 1009-048. I have no idea what that means. The main enemy, Stagman. Ooh. Main characters, Mordecai and Rigby, Margaret and Eileen. So Eileen's in this episode. Woohoo! She kind of is like the Velma of this series, the more I think about it. And Velma's one of my favorite Scooby-Doo characters. So, yeah. Let's see. 2.05 million views. So, Terror Tales must have did something to boost that viewership. Directed by Mike Roth, written and storyboarded by Sean Seals and Kat Morris. Last episode, as I said, Terror Tales of the Park. Next one, Slam Dunk, which is a good one. Has the late, great Carl Weathers in it. Hopefully, if I forget by then, everybody pour one out for Carl Weathers. He was not only a fantastic actor, had a swagger, but he was also a pretty cool voice actor as well. But a synopsis of this episode, Mordecai and Rigby take Margaret and Eileen into a restricted area of a forest. So you're going to see there's kind of a little bit of Friday the 13th vibes, not really, mainly because they're in a forest and they're camping. But yeah, there's some cool stuff in this episode. I'll go ahead and tell you, I think probably if I were watching this alongside the Adventure Time episode, maybe it's because I've seen this episode so many times, but I would probably rather watch that Adventure Time episode. But like a lot of these episodes, when I go back and review them, there's a lot of things that I missed that really make it more worthwhile than I thought initially. So let's look into that. The featured voices, Mordecai is J.G. Quintel, Rigby, Park Ranger, and Park Ranger number 2 are William Salyers. Additional voice, I bet you there's a lot of days at work where Park Ranger 1 is looking at Park Ranger 2 and like, hey, you sound a lot like me. And he's like, hey, you sound a lot like me too. Hey, you got your peanut butter in my chocolate. Oh, Reese cup. I don't know how that goes. I've never been a park ranger. But additional voices, Margaret and Weather Woman is Janie Haddad Tompkins. So maybe, I really don't want to look into this too much. Maybe she got married and she kept her maiden name. I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm really not going to look any more into that than that. That's her business, not mine. But glad she voices Margaret and Weather Woman. Here we go. Real legend. Speaking of Wes Craven earlier, Stagman is voiced by Robert Englund. I actually didn't know that. I knew he voiced a character basically at the main end of the show, but I did not know that he voiced Stagman. So either maybe I forgot. I don't know. But yeah, pretty cool. And then Eileen is Minty Lewis. So yes, let me see here. Is there anything I need to look at before? Here's an episode connections. Here's one that I didn't think of. The music on the car radio is the same music from Rigby's flashback with Dawn. So from the episode Dawn from season 1. So be on the lookout for that when we're going through it. And then the super premium hot dogs from season 1 return in this episode. Yeah, I knew that. Rigby brings them to the campsite where Eileen comments that these are really good hot dogs. So that's good callbacks. That's good. That's how you build a universe right there. I like that. Too bad it's calling back to my least favorite episode of the series, but you know. So real quick though, they got Robert Englund, they got Tim Curry, they've got Mark Hamill, which Mark Hamill isn't really a bad guy, but he voices the Joker. But a lot of these horror legends, they get, as usually villains for this series. I love that. So let's get into this. I've stalled long enough. I've talked for 27 minutes now. My gosh, how do you people put up with me? Maybe that's why I only got 30 listeners. Hey, wait, real quick. I put a video up on YouTube. The first one I put up, and it got I think it was close to 400 views in like 2 days. And I was like, wow, YouTube's really the way to go. And then every other video I've put up since it's gotten like 2 views. because they thought, hey, we get to watch episodes of the regular show for free. They thought I was pirating episodes or something. I don't know how you could get that from the first. Maybe they thought there was going to be video and I was making animated videos. Listen, the intern team I have is not talented enough. I've seen them draw. I've seen them try to write. It's mainly squiggly lines, and you're lucky to get them to be hieroglyphics, quite honestly. I mean, it's bad. Oh, they said they're working on an album, and they're like, here's our set list. And I looked at it, and it's just columns of squiggly lines. So, and there was a smiley face. So, I don't know. But, yeah, let's get into this episode. Okay, so the show starts out, and it's not really birds chirping. I mean, there kind of is. It doesn't open at the park. You hear kind of cars and urban. I don't know about urban. You hear cars, okay? You hear cars, and it opens up outside the coffee shop, and then it goes inside the coffee shop, cuts. And Mordecai and Rigby are watching a weather forecast, and there's this lady on screen talking, and it looks like there's a cold front that's like collapsing in from 3 different locations. And they're like, these teeth are going to bite down. Big trouble in the Western Hemisphere. These teeth are going to bite down on this system right here or something. And then Rigby says, yeah, and these clouds are going to punch somebody in the face. It's pretty entertaining because you see the lady talking and they're voicing it. And, it's dumb, but it is pretty entertaining. And then Margaret comes over, hey, guys. And right when she starts talking, Ruby cuts her off and he's like, wait, here it comes. And they turn up the weather lady in, and it's Janie Haddad voicing again. She's like, good news. There's going to be clear skies for the next 2 days or something. And then Mordecai goes, clear sky, sunshine. Yeah, that's what he says. He says, sunshine. And he looks like he hasn't slept for like 5 days straight. His eyelids are like all, got bags under them and everything. I don't know if they drew it like that on purpose, and then Eileen comes over and says, oh, clear skies? Are you guys talking about the weather? I love the weather. And at this point, you can't tell whether or not she's just trying to act interested in what Rigby's saying because she likes Rigby, or if she's really interested in the weather. I mean, it really is a toss-up at that point. And then Mordecai's like, yeah, we're going camping. And then now it kind of becomes a little bit more apparent. Eileen goes, oh, camping? I love camping. Camping's so cool, right, Margaret? And Margaret's like, yeah, I guess. I've never been camping. I don't know. And Mordecai, oh, you've never been camping? So this is a really cool dynamic. This kind of tells us that Eileen was just trying to act interested in what Rigby said. Or maybe she does just love the weather. I don't know. But we know she loves turtles. But Mordecai's always this is the dynamic when these four are when they're in an episode, at least early on. Mordecai's always wanting to do something with Margaret. Margaret really doesn't, at least initially, have an interest in doing anything with Mordecai. I mean, like as far as date-wise. But she goes along because it's a way to get Rigby to go on a date with Eileen, and they could call it a double date or whatever. And Rigby is not interested in Eileen. So it's kind of like, you got four corners and the upper left is lit up and the lower right's lit up. I don't really know how to explain that, but if I could visually show you, it'd be easier. But, you've got two attractions there, but they're on opposite ends of this square, opposite corners. So, but yeah, it's a really cool dynamic. And, maybe it'll flip this episode. Who knows? And I just noticed that they're standing in a square type formation. So Eileen is one corner, and right across from her is Mordecai. Right beside her is Margaret, and right across from Margaret is Rigby. But anyway, Rigby says, yeah, you probably wouldn't like it, Margaret. Or he said, what's wrong with you? And then Mordecai punches him, and he goes, and he goes, you probably wouldn't like it anyway, Margaret. And Mordecai says, don't listen to him, Margaret. Yeah, you would. And here he does it. He doesn't do it. He doesn't say the name of the episode. He says the name of the sequel. He says, camping could be really cool. That's the sequel that we never got. But anyway, because this one's camping can be cool. It's bad when you have to explain the things that you say on a podcast. That's what most of this podcast is. But anyway, Mordecai's like, Eileen says, I wish we could go with you. And Mordecai's like, yeah, you should come. And Eileen says, really? And he's like, yeah, the more the merrier. And he goes, oh, did you hear that, Margaret? It'll be fun. So she's just really trying to get invited, and it's, I don't know. This is the best, like, I don't want to say it's the best dynamic in regular show, but like whenever Margaret's there, it's usually better when Eileen's there. They kind of come as a duo. Whereas with Mordecai and Rigby, even though I like Mordecai a lot better than Rigby, they seem a little bit more like you need to have both of them. Whereas maybe it's they're both dynamic characters by the end. Probably actually Rigby even a little bit more. But whereas with Margaret and Eileen, Margaret really seems to be the only they're both dynamic, but Margaret really seems to be like the major player in that group. Not Margaret, but Eileen. Sorry. Oh, I'm just rambling now. Let's get on with this. Okay, so there's a really great visual joke here. And I actually literally did laugh out loud in the booth when I saw this because I'd forgotten about this. I didn't expect this. It caught me off guard. Rigby says, you probably shouldn't go, Margaret. I don't know how your boyfriend would feel with you going on a camping trip with two guys. And she goes, what boyfriend? I'm not seeing anybody right now. Guys are jerks. And Mordecai's sitting there and he's like, it's like, yeah, he's got his hand on his chin. He's like, I know, right? Guys are jerks. And then I wish you could you'll just have to watch it. I wish I could show you, but you can't see through the microphone. But he turns his head real quick, and you can't hear me turn my head. but his eyes light up, and he's like, it's the stupidest look, but it's this look of excitement. Like he thinks that she can't see him, but like he covers up his face, and he's like, "Can you believe what she just said?" It literally, like I'm usually it's like the audio, the sonic things that get me to laugh, but this is just a visual type joke that, man, it caught me so off guard, and it was hilarious. I don't know why. You may think it's dumb as all get out, but for whatever reason, it really got me today. So Margaret says, "How can I argue with enthusiasm like that?" And then we cut to not really a montage. Well, it's kind of a montage, but it's a road trip. And we have that little up-tempo boogie is what it says on the captions. I'm assuming that's the Dawn music, bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum. Yeah, whatever. And they're doing the thing where you stick your hand out the window and you feel the wind, you feel the fluid friction. The faster an object moves through a fluid, the more fluid friction it experiences. And you can kind of move your hand up and down, whatever. And they're all doing that. And, you know, coincidentally, Rigby is in the back of the car, and he looks like he's having about as much fun as he looks about as enthusiastic as he did in the Dawn episode. So maybe it's just the music. Maybe he doesn't dislike Dawn. Maybe it's just the music. That's the only common link we have, other than the dogs barking every single episode. Oh, take it in, people. Take it in. Enjoy. Oh, they stopped. Okay. So they pull up to literally National Forest. It doesn't say which one, just National Forest. They get up there and the park ranger's like, "Hey, what you doing?" They're like, "Oh, we're here to camp," and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "Oh, yeah." And Margaret's like, "So where's this secret spot that you were talking about, Mordecai?" And Mordecai's like, "Shh, no, shh. We're here to camp." And he's like, "Oh, so you going to Pine Fields or Valley, whatever?" And Mordecai goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And the ranger's kind of confused, and he gives him a map, and he says, "Okay, stick to the trails and roads. Thank you." And then they drive off, because, they got a secret spot that Mordecai told him about. I probably failed to mention that because I'm a dunce. So Margaret starts going, "Okay, where do we need to go for this secret spot?" Mordecai goes, "Nope, we don't need that." And he pulls the map out of her hand, and he goes, "Pull over, just right here." And it's this gate says restricted access, public's restricted, whatever. You don't go in here, basically. And he's like, "All right, dude, go do your thing." And Rigby's like, "Excuse me." And he shoves Eileen like right up into the dashboard, and he gets out. He goes to unlock the gate. And she's like, "Are you sure we should be doing this?" And he goes, "Trust me, we do this all the time." So they end up driving up there, and you get this really spooky, atmospheric ambiance type music. Pretty cool stuff. And they get up there, and you can kind of tell that, at least the impression I get is that they're the only ones that go up there because there's a bunch of those hot dog packages and like empty cracker boxes or something. So they just leave their crap up there. And, we're going to see what happens, I guess. So they're all talking about how cool the spot is. And Eileen's like, "You sure we won't get in trouble?" And Mordecai reassures them, "Trust me, it's fine. Here's the best part. Come look at this." And they go over to they go past the trees, and you see this enormous view of this park. And there's this glorious waterfall. And, it's this big, like, canyon looking thing. And Margaret says, the cliched line, "Oh, Mordecai, it's beautiful." And then Rigby interrupts. He says, "Mordecai, where's the matches?" And Mordecai says, "They should be in the pack." And he goes, "They're not in here. I want to cook some hot dogs." And he goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Ugh." And he walks over there. "What do you mean you're not in there?" And he goes, "You probably forgot. Dude, good job. You forgot to pack them." And not Eileen, but Margaret, she comes over. She says, "Guys, don't fight. They probably just fell out of the pack." And then you hear Eileen say, "It's cool. I got this." And she's already got a fire started. And she's like, blow it on the fire. And there's like one of those string bows and a stick, one of the it's like, I can't remember what it's called, but you wrap a string around the stick, a little pointy stick, and you got the bow, and you move it up and down, and it spins the string, start the fire. The only reason I know about this is because the high school I went to had a museum for county history, but it also went back to ancient, not ancient, but not ancient, but like some of the Native American practices and some of these instruments they used to tan hides and start fires and stuff. What do you call that? Anthropology? There was, anthropological type material in these museums. But anyway, she's got one of those and she's got a fire started. So yeah, it's like, yep, she's just pretty cool already in this episode. She is like the star player of this episode, pretty much. This is her episode. So to add on to that, she's like, "Good job, Eileen. You're pretty handy." And she goes, "Yeah, I used to get lost in the woods a lot." And Margaret goes, "When you were a kid?" And Eileen goes, "Last year." It's kind of a phase I was going through. So I don't think that ever gets resolved. Like they kind of leave that little thread open. I don't think it ever gets addressed. Lost tapes. I'm looking at you, but no, I mean, I'm not. I don't think it gets addressed. But yeah, it's just like she has this, this look on her face like she's embarrassed. I used to get lost in the woods last year. But yeah, anyway, good job, Eileen. Y'all are congratulating her, and because she started the fire, probably saved their butts from freezing. So the last bit there is Rigby says, "Yeah, that was kind of cool," and then Eileen blushes. And Rigby doesn't know what to do, so he goes, "Catch!" And he throws the pack of hot dogs at her, and it smacks her in the face. And she catches. She goes, and it's gross because there's like all the condensation from the plastic package on her face. She goes, "Oh, these are really cool. These are super good hot dogs," and it's the extra premium hot dogs. So we get a montage, and nothing really big happens. Like at least you don't think. Like they're swimming, and Eileen does a cannonball, and then they see a deer, and then they see a frog, and then Eileen's handling snakes, and Rigby's showing them like poison ivy that he's got or something, and they're like, "Oh, gross." And then you see the deer again, and then the montage ends. So, yeah, I guess just keep that in mind. So, next thing we get is it's nighttime, and Eileen and Rigby are sitting on a log by the fire playing these video games, and Mordecai and Margaret are on the hood of what looks to be like her Chevy Sprint or something. I don't know, but they're sitting there looking up at the sky. And Margaret's like, "You can see all the stars so clearly. Do you know any of the names of the thingies?" And Mordecai goes, "Thingies?" And she goes, Mordecai says, "Constellations." And she goes, "Yeah, the constellations." And he's like teasing her about because she don't know the word. And he's like, "Yeah, I think that's Ursula Merger right there. See, that's the handle of the ladle." And Eileen hollers from over on the log. She says, "It's Ursa Major, and that's not even it. That's Orion." Something like that. And Rigby, without even looking up, he throws his hand up in the air and goes, "Oh!" And she didn't even have to look. So, yeah, that's what you get, Mordecai. So he says, "Okay, I don't know the names of those thingies, but I can show you something really cool." Okay, this is just dumb. He goes, "Give me your keys." I guess I can relate because this is just something, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like, it seems like an idea that somebody in their 20s would have. Like I would have had in my 20s. I don't know. "Give me your keys." And then he opens up the car and puts the keys in the ignition and, turns it to where you can turn the radio on. Turns to 87.3, slow rock. Hey. But he turns that on, and I mean, it's like, dude, you're running the battery down. Like, what if you guys got to get out of, I don't know. Whatever. I probably wouldn't have thought of that in my 20s either. But anyway, he gets back on the hood of the car and she goes, "Ooh, nice save." And she sits down beside him. She puts her hand beside his, and they're like both awkwardly staring up at the sky. And they're just talking about random, not random things, but Mordecai's like, "So you've been pretty busy," or something like that. And she goes, "Yeah, college has been crazy. But you know how that is." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, but that was just art school. It's different." So we're getting backstory to Mordecai here. And then Mordecai's like, "So you don't think all guys are jerks, right?" And then Margaret jumps up. She says, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, he says, "Hear what?" She goes, "I just heard something." And he goes, "It was just the sound of the wilderness." He goes, "It's probably that deer we saw earlier." So they restart their conversation, and Margaret is like, "So what were you saying?" And they're going to continue on with this conversation until, we get some rising action. Psych, just kidding. The thunder crashes and it starts raining real hard, so they don't continue talking. But anyway, Mordecai runs over to Rigby. He's like, "Dude, where's the tent at?" And Rigby's like, "I didn't pack it." He's like, "What? Why?" And he's like, I told you, I just wanted to use tarps like we always do." And he goes, "And where's the tarps?" And Rigby says, "I forgot them." It's like, "What?" And then the fire goes out, and he goes, and Eileen's like, It's all right. I packed mine. It's in the car." So Margaret runs over there to the car to open it up, and Mordecai's locked them out, and the keys are in the ignition. It's just like, "Dude, you locked the keys in the car." And Rigby's like, "Smooth move." And Eileen's already going, let's build a shelter. She's already got half of the shelter built. I skipped over a little bit there. The park ranger drives up in a truck and he honks his horn. And he's like, "What are you folks doing here? This is restricted." And they're like, "We know. We locked our keys in our car." And he says, "Fine, I got some tools back at the ranger shed, but as soon as I get your car open, I want you out of here." And say, "Okay." So then Rigby drops the great line, "Great, now we gotta wait in the rain for that guy." I mean, I don't know why that's so funny, but that's another one of those things that just it hit me pretty good, I guess. But they start building the shelter, and Eileen tells Margaret to go get more dead branches. And the look on Eileen's face is just like, oh, it's like totally helpless. Oh, yeah, okay. She walks over there to get dead branches, and I think she's about to hear something in the woods. I'm not sure yet. I'm paused at that point, and I'm about to check it out. So she actually doesn't hear anything. She breaks a branch, and there's that deer that we saw twice and that Mordecai mentioned again. Looking at her, she gasps. She says, and it's kind of like Jurassic Park where, what's his name? Newman. I can't remember the guy that basically just runs Jurassic Park into the ground. Whatever his name is, the guy that Newman plays, But where he sees the little acid-spitting dinosaur and they're in the rain, it really reminds me of that because she doesn't know how serious it is at first. She's just kind of shocked by it. And she goes, "Oh, hey there. It's that deer," or something like that. And then the deer walks out of the bush and it's got a humanoid torso and just a deer head. And this came out way before this guy was popular, but it really reminds me of that Liver King guy, the guy that got busted for he didn't get busted. He just lied about his drug use, which was pretty obvious. I remember going to work. I had 2 or 3 people, they at work, it's been a few years back, they're like, "You see that Liver King guy, man?" And at this point, I'd stopped watching. Like, this was right when I was getting out of the Superhuman Radio. And I didn't watch many fitness videos on YouTube or anything. Because usually at the time, I was just so wrapped up in it, I watched them for entertainment. But I'd seen like this guy on Facebook doing just stupid stuff for attention. Well, I shouldn't even say stupid, but just doing crap like eating like, I don't know, just raw organs and stuff. I shouldn't even say stupid, but he just did stuff that was just, kind of, I guess, quote, edgy or something. I don't know, for, views, I guess. But I remember I had people at work ask me, "You think that guy's natural?" I'm like, "What? Are you kidding?" But I had this same dude, he also asked me, he's like, "Man, you think The Rock's natural?" And it's like, okay, no. But anyway, this guy walks out or this deer, the stag man is what he's titled as. He's got a bow on his back and he's like, and Margaret runs over to Mordecai and he's like, "Mordecai, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, basically he's tired of Mordecai and Rigby coming there with their fire, setting the forest ablaze and their machinery and cutting down the trees or whatever and running her with their food packaging and terrible music. And really, it's Robert Englund voice. You can tell it's Robert Englund voiced them once, it's kind of apparent now, but like, it sounds like Freddy Krueger with some like mixed in with like 2 different national accents. Like it kind of sounds like a little bit of an Eastern Bloc and then also like a Scottish type thing. So I really don't know what's going on there, but he's like, he turns around and he's like, "Now I'll count to 10. Basically, he's going to count to 10 and then he's going to turn around and hunt him, which is, it's kind of terrifying because this guy really looks like he could, he could T-1000 him if he had to. And then he says, "But don't worry, I'm going to use all your parts, like nothing will go to waste," which, that's pretty good commentary right there. That's pretty clever. But, so he starts counting to 10 and I forgot how good this segment is. This little segment right here is actually pretty doggone good. And he starts counting 1, 2, and then they all take off running. And Eileen stops at the car and just picks up a rock and launches it through the window. And, I'm assuming that would work. I don't know, but she got the rock through the window first try. And you hear her honk the horn and they all get in there and Margaret tries to get in and turn the car on, but Mordecai's drained the battery and and it cuts back to Stagman and he's like 4, 5, and he's trying to get the bow up from around his horns and his horns are so big he can't get the bow over him.
So then finally they get the car started and they start to drive off. And while they're doing that, he's instead of going over his horns, he's like pulled it back and he's like taking it down his torso and stepping out of the bow. It's pretty clever. But they take off flying and he goes, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then he takes off running after them. And I'm pretty sure this is, speaking of T-1000, I'm pretty sure this is a Terminator 2 reference right here. So we had one of those, and I think it's also a Jurassic Park reference because Mordecai says, we're going to need to go faster. So we had one of those in Muscle Woman, or we had both of those in Muscle Woman, and I think this is also the same thing going on in this episode. So we have the same Terminator 2 reference and the same Jurassic Park reference, but just different context. And this one is probably actually even more like Jurassic Park because it's nighttime and it's raining. Pretty sure it was raining when during that T-Rex scene in Jurassic Park chase. But Rigby's like, he's gaining on us, and the Stag's, he's T-1000. He's running down that car, and he doesn't hook onto it. But they pop open the trunk like they do. They actually, I don't know if they pop open the trunk on Terminator 2. I don't remember. They're shooting at the T-1000. Well, they're throwing cans at him, and they're just like hitting the Stag Man and bouncing off of him, and he's running right through him with his eyes squinted, and the cans are just bouncing off. And he gets right up to him, and Mordecai grabs a lit lantern. I don't know how it's already lit, but he grabs it and he smacks him in the face with it, and it blows up, and he rolls on the ground. And Rigby says, "In your face," as they drive off. So the whole thing's probably maybe 20 seconds, but it's a great, great little segment. Okay, so I take that back. This is, he does latch onto the car. They say, I think we lost him. And right then, he jumps onto the back of the car and he takes a knife and he stabs it through the roof of it. Pretty similar to what, I'm thinking Terminator 2 was like, but they're sliding all over the road. And they throw him off and he hits the ground, gets up, pulls an arrow from out of his quiver and shoots it into their tire. And, they get a flat and they spin out and they hit a tree over like off the road. And they get out and they take off running, and he jumps on the hood of their car and takes off running after him. And he's shooting arrows at him, but he's missing. And that's a little, plot armor right there, because if he's accurate enough to hit a tire on a moving car, but he can't hit a slower moving, anthropomorphic animal, a giant blue jay or, something that moves slower and is probably at least 8 times bigger than that tire as far as, probably more, but, but anyway, he's missing, and they get up on the main road, and they're like, look, there's a ranger, help, and they're standing there, yell, help, help, and he sees him, and he goes, and he swerves to miss him, but then he corrects, so he swerves to miss him, and then he corrects and goes back to his original trajectory, so it's like, he doesn't just swerve to get out of the way. He swerves and gets back on his original trajectory. And the deer's standing there, and he gives the deer in the headlight looks. And the guy hits it. Wham! So, yeah, it's just great how they end up beating this guy. It's like nothing of their doing. It really is like, I don't know. It's pretty cool. Okay, so the scene cuts to daylight, and there's another park ranger there, and he's like, all right, you folks better get out of here, and you be safe and all that. They're like, sorry about that. What are you going to do about that? And they haul the Stagman up and throw him in the back of the truck, and they go, oh, we got a special protocol for this. Which, honestly, well, they drive off, and then he walks up to the park ranger and goes, so you call a taxidermist? And he says, yeah, but isn't this a little strange? And he goes, oh, no, we'll just... And he waves his hand around. And he goes, we'll just put some clothes on the humany parts. Which is very great. But, like, honestly, I think it would have been just as cool for them to leave this open for, like, a sequel episode where they take it and they experiment on it or something. I don't know. But, yeah, pretty cool. But, yeah, that's a great line. We'll just throw some clothes on the humany part. So the episode ends with, Margaret's like, it wasn't so bad. They're apologizing to her. She says, it wasn't so bad. And Eileen says, yeah, I ate 7 hot dogs. And then Rigby says, yeah, and you totally busted Margaret's window out with a rock. And she goes, oh, yeah, sorry, Margaret. And she goes, oh, it's okay. It's cool. I'm just glad I survived my first camping trip, And then she looks in the rearview window and says, thanks, Mordecai. And Mordecai says, see, I told you camping can be cool. And then they just drive down the road with their broken, back bumper. And she goes over that first hill kind of slow, but she really looks like she's booking it in the background there. It looks like she's going a lot faster. So I don't know. But that's how the episode ends. Overall, this episode is actually I say this a lot, but this episode is a lot better than I remember it. Nothing, well, I shouldn't say super major. I mean, there's actually a lot of updates here. Like, you actually see that Rigby has a little bit of interest in Eileen. Margaret starts having more interest in Mordecai. We get another awesome reference to Jurassic Park and Terminator 2. I mean, the Stag Man was honestly, he's kind of a terrifying villain. I mean, there's some cool developments that happen in this episode. I guess I've just seen it so many times, I was a little burnt out on it. But, like, we learned that Mordecai attended art school, so there's backstory there. We know Margaret, she's in college. I think I don't know if it reveals that she's studying for journalism or not, but that's going to come in play later in the series. So I don't know. I don't remember that far back, but I mean, there's some pretty good jokes there. There's actually a little bit of a suggestive double entendre or innuendos there that might get overlooked. I didn't really point out all that much, but if you watch the episode, you'll probably get it. But it's a cool episode. I can't really, well, I'll tell you when I think about it now, the thing that holds it back for me is, and it's actually one of its strengths too, it doesn't have the whole cast. It's just 4 characters, but it does maximize its time with those 4 characters. So it almost balances out. I mean, on one hand, it's a very strong episode, but on the other hand, it doesn't use the thing that I like best about regular shows. So objectively speaking, I would say that this is a pretty good episode. Subjectively, it's still good, but it's not as good as some of the other top tier episodes, I would say. And don't get me wrong, I don't think this is a top tier episode. I'd say, honestly, ranking this, trying to be as objective as possible, which there's going to be some bias there. I mean, there always is, but trying to be as objective as possible, I would probably have to give this a 7.5 or a 7, somewhere in there. I mean, it's pretty good. It really picks up during the when the Stagman comes out, though. I mean, that's, but there's these humorous little jokes sprinkled throughout. So, and there's a lot of character development. So it really is a solid episode. Yeah. And this is one that my dad always talked about. He always thought this was Adventure Time. He'd always say that, that deer thing with the human legs. And I'm like, and when I went back and watched Adventure Time, there's an episode where there's like a deer in the sewers. And I'm like, this isn't scary. What's he talking about? Like, this isn't creepy at all. But no, he was talking about this when I look back and think about it. But yeah, so, cool. So the trivia, this episode reveals that Margaret is in college studying journalism. Okay, so I guess it did point that out. Eileen reveals her interest in astronomy. Okay, I mean, yeah, that's when she points out it's Ursa Major and all that. That means Big Bear, I think, something like that. Big Dipper, whatever. I think Ursa is bear, but anyway. It's revealed Mordecai attended art school. Okay, and later on it's revealed that he dropped out. And then actually, well, it doesn't mention this, but hopefully I can find a way to review the regular show movie. I've only seen that one time, but I need to go back and watch that because a wise man once said, always guard the pepperonis. You'll get that if you watch the movie. Anyway, Rigby is first shown to start warming up to Eileen. Yeah, so that's probably really the high point of this episode is just the characters start warming up to each other, I guess. So episode connections, the music on the car radio is the same music from Rigby's flashback with Dawn. I think I pointed this stuff. Yeah, I pointed this stuff out earlier before we started this. And then the super premium hot dogs. So Yeah, I don't think it doesn't mention, like, any goofs, but one thing I will point out is how did that lantern get in the car? I mean, I didn't see them, like, go back and pick that up and run it over to the car before they took off. And the deer wouldn't have had to count so fast when if they would have done that. So, I wouldn't say that's a goof, though. It's just I don't know. It's just a convenient plot device that they used. But, so that's about all I got for this episode. It really was a pretty good episode. And I'm going to try to not ramble on for 20 extra minutes here. So if you would, like I said, at this point, I've only got like 30 listeners. It would really help if you left a review and shared the show. I would love to grow this show a lot more because I don't know, it's really disheartening to put it on like YouTube and you see that 2 people watch it, which is, I'm thankful for the 2 people that watch it, but there's a lot of work that goes into editing all these episodes and putting them out. Sometimes it's a struggle to get them out every 2 weeks, to be honest, and that's with them pre-made, just like actually editing and EQing some stuff out and de-reverbing, which I'm trying to get sound treatment in this room at the moment. I'm building my mother's helping me build. Well, actually, she's showing me how to build the frames for these sound panels, and we've got one built, and I have 3 bass traps ordered to kind of help with music too. It's really expensive to get that done, though. I mean, like, my gosh, I've got 6 more panels I'm making. So that'll be a total of, 5 more. So that'll be a total of 9 panels. I'm hoping that really helps to cut down on a lot of the reverb and a lot of the 500 hertz that popped up. For whatever reason, 500 hertz is just, there's a node in this room of 500 hertz and it sounds terrible. But man, yeah, that's really expensive. If anybody wants to donate me some money for soundproofing, or not soundproofing, but sound treatment, I would love it. I'm just kidding. I know nobody's going to donate, but I appreciate the offer. No, but seriously though, thank you for listening. Any of that stuff that helps the algorithm. Reviews help a lot on Spotify. Comments, likes, follows, subscribes, all that stuff on YouTube helps out tremendously. And I would really like to grow this show because it's going to take me pretty near a year to get through season 3. And it's like, I would really like before, I'm just calculating, depending on how long the Lost Tapes goes. I mean, like, even just getting through season 8, it's going to be another probably 5-year endeavor. I don't know. It's going to be hard to keep well, for me, even, it's, I can cast for 5 more years, assuming I don't get a life or anything. But, man, that intern team I have, I don't know if they're going to I don't know if anybody wants to listen to them for 5 more years, but I don't know if they're going to be able to keep coming up with stuff. Like, their commercials are already sounding like, we haven't had one sponsor that stayed on with us. Like, that placebo company keeps coming back, but like everything they put out's trash. Don't buy any of it, folks. I don't know. I don't know who's over the sponsorship. Whichever one of them's over marketing, I need to fire, quite honestly. But anyway, thank you for listening. Discord. I know I've been saying Discord. I probably haven't been putting the link in the show notes, but there's 2 members, Rob and myself. Hopefully he'll come back on pretty soon. Also, if you would, if you want to hear me on another podcast or Rob, we do Turtles Forever. We do Spidey Saturdays. Rob does Retro Junkies. Occasionally, I'll voice characters on there or something. I would like to be on that show, just because, quite frankly, it'd be easier to talk on that show with Landon and Rob about retro stuff than it is to talk about these shows because we all 3 have different viewpoints. Actually, that Landon guy and I are almost the same personality. Every time he makes I said I wasn't going to ramble for 20 minutes. This will be the last thing I say, but they do a show, Spooky Stan Spooky something other, where they pick out songs around Halloween and they talk about them like songs from video games or just movies or whatever. And I love shows like that, like BG Mania, a video game podcast. If you like shows like that, go listen and tell them that I sent you. Because actually, a lot of viewers from Turtles Forever went and did that, and they actually contacted us. They're like, "Hey, you want to be part of the network?" And turned it down because we wanted to be creative. But I would totally be part of their network. If, I like that whole video game retro thing. But anyway, whatever. Anytime Landon mentions like a recommendation or a song, it's like I knew he was going to pick that song. I knew he was. Like, and they start talking about movies, and he starts talking. They start talking about. Can't remember what the topic was, but it was like Guyver got brought up, and Landon's like, "There's this movie called Guyver," and I was like, "Oh, I love Guyver," and he starts talking about 1 and 2, and I'm like, "Don't forget about part 2," and he starts talking about 2, and we're like, "Yeah, David Hayter," and I wasn't on there, but like I remember I was walking a parking lot. It was for a teacher in service when I was on lunch walking instead of eating lunch, and listen, and yeah, basically like I was talking to him, but he couldn't hear me. I mean, obviously, but to an outsider, it would look like I was talking to myself. That's why people think I'm crazy. Who knows? But yeah, like Landon's recommendations are usually like I can predict what he's going to recommend when there's a topic because we have such similar interests. The only time I've met him in person was at Rob's house, and we sat around and we got to talking about The Simpsons. And he and I probably could have sat all afternoon and just talked The Simpsons, And Rob's even joked around about, hey, we got to start a Simpsons podcast. And like, quite frankly, if we did that, we would never get done. I mean, honestly, we would probably only get 5 episodes out the door. But Landon would probably have to be part of that podcast because he's just as enthusiastic about it as either one of us are. So, I mean, yeah. So, yeah, anyway. Yeah, the Retro Junkies, Turtles Forever, and Spidey Saturdays, and I'm waxing long in the tooth now. So, until next time, I appreciate you. Have a great couple weeks. I'll see you next week, or not week. I just said a couple weeks. Woo, amateur hour. Okay, I'll see you in a couple weeks with Slam Dunk, and we're going to talk about the late, great Carl Weathers and his role in the regular show. Insert catchphrase here.